sky grows dark, decay underneath, the ravens in the sky, and kings shall deceive. We have come into the night, plunder and rage in war at night. We have come into the night, plunder and rage in war at night. We'll fight for kings, for Ragnarok. Drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok. Welcome to Valhalla. Drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok. Welcome to Valhalla. I can feel it in my veins, the warrior inside of me. Drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok. Welcome to Valhalla. The sounds of arms, fierce morality. Nightfall, the rain, and the silence bleeds. We have come into the night, plunder, rage, and war at night. We have come into the night, plunder, rage, and war at night. We'll fight for kings, for Ragnarok. Shield wall. Drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok. Welcome to Valhalla. Drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok. Welcome to Valhalla. I can feel it in my veins, the warrior inside of me. Drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok, drinker up for Ragnarok. Welcome to Valhalla.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Valhalla Esports Season 2, The Seer. We're going to talk about the Week 1 matchups and look towards the Week 2 matchups. We got Beard here running the stream for us, and I'm joined by Deity for the cast. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice Friday. lot of league to be had.
Friday is a good day. But we will jump into the Week 1 matchups. We had Titan Gaming Muck versus Velocity Gaming, H2O versus Battle of the Bulg, Titan's Wrath versus Night Raid Owls, Ultra Lords versus Rolling Stoners, God Kings versus Soarstar, and Big Wheel versus Los Nomadas. So let's jump into the first matchup. This game got streamed. Hopefully most of you got to see it. If you didn't, check out the VODs or check out the YouTube. But it was Night Raid against Titan's Wrath. These games were a really good series. It went to 3 games. They were all pretty exciting games back and forth. And just really a pleasure to stream them and have them be the first games of Season 2.
Yeah, a real banger to start us off. Was definitely interesting to watch. If you watch the stream, there's a lot of funny moments, a lot of good goofs and gags.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of good back and forths. But we'll jump into the game 1 info. Looks like we have the draft for this game. We don't have the drafts for all of them, but where we do, we'll show. So we saw NRO first picked the Wukong.
Have bought with the Twitch Prime Shout out to Bot.
Yeah, but everybody else, if you got that Twitch Prime, avoid random ads popping up. Give us some Twitch Primes. We'll use it to improve the season and the stream as much as we can. But we saw in the stream, actually, there you go, Tactic, another Twitch Prime.
Tactic with the Twitch Prime.
But in the cast, I was baiting Kid Buu into playing an 80 jungler because I said how last season he played about 80% AP junglers. We saw the Lilia did get banned away from him, and he ended up on the Wukong. NRO rounded it out. Not even a prime. He actually gave us $5 whole. Rounded out with that Zeri Yumi
Giga Chad tactic
in round 1. Meanwhile, Titan's Wrath grabbed the Seraphine, a very safe pick for Bentage in that mid lane. Pick he was really enjoying last season, and they grabbed the Caitlyn and Nautilus for their bot lane. And then for the round 2, NRO picked up Galio and Yone, and Titan's Wrath grabbed Cho'Gath and Bel'Veth. So we can. How'd you feel about those drafts, Deity?
I like the drafts from both teams. If we see later on the kind of on the what happened in the games or like what they built, I think Titan's Wrath could have easily you know 2-0'd NRO, to be honest, with the first two. But this draft, I think I like the drafts from both teams, to be real. I'm not getting ahead of myself. I like both teams' drafts. I like what both teams were trying to do. NRO has a much more like, I would say, like typical draft in terms of like what we're used to and watching like pro play and stuff. Like they have a lot more of a standard like new age draft. But I do like Titans Wrath's draft. I think it was good for how they wanted to play.
Yeah, for sure. And we can jump into the post-game screen and talk about a little bit what happened. We have a good idea since we were the ones who were casting it. But Titan's Wrath actually came out to a very strong early lead. Challenge Cat on the Bel'Veth got very ahead, but ended up rushing the Rage Blade. And while Rage Blade was at a point where it was bugged and didn't really work as well with other items.
I think it's still bugged. I think it's still bugged. If there's any Bel'Veth enthusiasts in chat, I will let you. I'll just come out and say, I don't think Rage Blade's it. I know some people think it's it. I don't think it's it. I don't think it's it. I think there are way better mythics that you can go on Bel'Veth. Truthfully, I don't think mythics really need to be built on Bel'Veth till even like 4th item possibly, just because a lot of the mythics on Bel'Veth are not super crucial. But out of all the mythics that you can rush early, definitely like Rage Blade just does not like Critter was quite ahead in the early. I think he had 3. He was 3-0 at one point on the Bel'Veth early, but his power way dropped after like the Rage Blade, after other champions started getting their item curves. It's just the item doesn't give you enough stats. If you're going to build Rage Blade at all, you should build it like 3rd, when you have like better stats that you can utilize, like all the on hit procs that it's giving you.
Agreed. And a shout out to Titan's Wrath bot lane in this game. KB and a hot guy on the Nautilus did a very good job in the early game controlling the lane. Yes, this is the first match we're going over, Hubbit. They did a really good job controlling the lane early since we're against a Zeri Yumi. Just had the Nautilus sit forward in lane and provide a big buffer. But unfortunately for them, the shutdowns, I believe 2 in a row, essentially went onto the Zeri. And then she was online and was essentially able to carry from there with the big Wombo team fight that Night Raid Owl drafted.
Yeah, I mean, we know how ridiculous Zeri can get when, especially Zeri Yumi, when they get that far ahead towards the mid game. They did a really good job early, but I think it's hard to compete with their Wombo, especially when not everyone's quite ahead in that game. It's really easy just to get ran over.
For sure, but was a back and forth game. Definitely check that one out if you're interested in some games from this week, and we'll jump into the next draft. Here for game two, the final pick was mixed, but it was a Jax, as you can see, kind of in the middle there. But Night Raid once again prioritized that Wukong pick. Titan's Wrath ended up grabbing the Morgana for benches in the mid lane, another champion he was very well known for. Night Raid went for the hyper carry bot of Lulu Kog'Maw, and then rounded it out with the Galio once again and Jax on the top lane. Titans, we weren't sure about it, but grabbed a Shaco pick. We were afraid he wouldn't have many good targets to take out, but ended up being piloted pretty well in this game. Syndra in the mid lane, and then
it was
it was a
Syndra
support.
Yeah,
It was a Syndra MF
Morgana
bot,
mid lane.
Morgana mid, and then Sion in that top lane. But we can
the reason this game was able to work is just because of how well KB and Hot Guy played their lane. Honestly, I mean, it made it so like Kog'Maw and Lulu just could not play the game at all. They got extensively bullied. Shaco did, or Critter did, like come to bot a lot. Kid Buu really couldn't do anything to like save his drowning bot lane. It was just supreme dominance from KB and Hot Guy there, and I think they played really well to like what they wanted to do. Delicious played really well against Mockingbird's Jax as well. He did good on the Scion. I think everyone was on a comfort champion that game, and it just kind of felt like they, found their rhythm.
Yeah, agreed. That unconventional pick, but one Hawkeye is known for on the Syndra for support, worked out so well. And as you said, just got their bot lane really far ahead. And then by the time team fights were happening, they just had enough gold in their pocket where they kind of snowballed that lead and did a very good job keeping the lead and closing out that game without. They avoided this game giving over any shutdowns to Nithros, which was definitely a big part of the game plan for the win.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But with that, they went to game three, and this time, Night Raid was once again on the blue side. They banned away the Alawi, Zyra, and the Shaco. They didn't want to deal with that Shaco again, and they first picked the Morgana. Generally got away from Bentage. Bentage ended up grabbing the Seraphine. They got the Ziggs and Vi. The Ziggs, we weren't sure if it would be a Ziggs mid, but we were pretty sure it would be a Ziggs bot. So they were going a little AP heavy there. Night Raid ended up with a Morg Jhin bottom, so a more standard bot lane, and they had a big Silas in the mid lane. That man, if he ever gets big, can be very scary. And then Yasuo top in a Sejuani jungle. Hawkeye ended up grabbing the Xerath, so they had the Zig Xerath in that bot, and the Scion once again for the top lane. So we'll jump into the score screen and go over how this game went.
I have a lot of thoughts on this game personally. So
Let's hear it.
I think a lot of it stems from the draft, and I think there's a lot of problems with Titans draft, and I think if they stuck to what they did last time, the kind of style they wanted to play last time, I think they could have easily, won this game as well. I do think that it was smart of NRO to put Marbra on Silas, putting him on a carry. He was kind of on Galio duty for the first two games. I think putting him on the Silas really, really helped them, to be fair to Marbra. I think also Nithros played super well. So, props to NRO. They played a really good game. But I think it could have been a lot more competitive if Titans didn't go. For one, they went triple AP bot side, which is not typically good. They picked Vi into Morgana Silas, which I just even in the draft, those who watched the game, I was utterly confused at that pick because I mean, Morgana is known to be a huge counter to Vi. She can just black shield on whatever target Vi wants to ult. It's very obvious. Silas can just take her ult, which is also not great because then Silas can just get a free ride to whatever carry he wants to go to. Also, triple AP bot side, you really don't have any sort of consistent damage on the team of Titan's Wrath. You don't have anything that is going to be able to like punch or hit the Sejuani. Sejuani is going to be kind of unkillable in this game. Yeah, I mean, those are basically my. I think it all went wrong in the draft. I think it should have been either an 80 carry for KB or it should have been maybe a Senna for Hot Guy or something. But
Yeah,
just my
agreed.
thought.
We kind of talked about it during the gamecast as well. The bot side especially, KB and Hawkeye looked really good game one and game two. I don't think they needed to change up their plan there. But they went with this draft, and yeah, you can kind of see the Silas and Jin popped off, and just having a lack of sustained damage made the team fights later very hard for their team. But Nightreed Owls took game three and won the series 2-1. Now we'll jump into Los Nomadas and Big Wheel. This is the other game we casted from week one. We wanted to show off the champs from season one, even though they only have Snirbopsy as the same player. And we can jump into game one draft to see what they picked up. Here we see Los Nomadas grabbed the Mumu, Jin, and Garen round one. Big Wheel grabbed Zeri, Gragas, and Darius. And then round two, it was a Zerath Mundo pickup for Los Nomadas and Brand Maokai for Big Wheel. Big Wheel's sitting here with a pretty good engage comp. They've got big CC from the Maokai and the Gragas and a pull-in from the Darius. Los Nomadas kind of relying on the Mumu for their engage, but we can jump to the score screen and talk over this one. So this one, Big Wheel ended up taking the victory. You see Evbot on the Gragas popped off this game, went 10, 1, and 2. Did ridiculously well, went AP Gragas, so by the end of the game was just popping the carries as soon as he could body slam them. And Snarbopsy took that Garen mid lane, so it was going the Garen mid, continuing his trend of unique mid lane picks. Tried to go the crit build, but was against Hardway on the brand. He used his range well, died a couple of times, but Snarbopsy didn't get fed enough to not get blown up by the very fed Gragas on the enemy team. And then Fluffy playing with the sub Blitzkrieg Pyro. They both were playing very well. Lambo and Kitten were playing well into them, but the CC from the Maokai was really setting up Fluffy and ganks for Evebot in this game.
Yeah. I honestly think that I think that like Big Wheel just got pretty much like all of their comfort picks. Funnily enough, I just think Fluffy got Zeri, which I've seen Fluffy play a lot of like Zeri Jinx. Those are like his two comfort picks. We see Hardway get Brand, which is probably like I know everyone knows him as the Jace Pantheon guy, but his Brand is probably one of his best champions. Might even be better than his Jace and his Pantheon, possibly. I think it's a really comfort pick for him. Evbot got his Gragas. That's like his signature champion. I think their attempt was to ban out some of Avius's champions, but I almost think that's not really worth doing since Avius can kind of just play whatever carry champion in the top lane. I think trying to put two bans towards him was probably not the move, but I can see if they were worried about Kled and Irelia specifically and playing really well on that. But I mean, he could have just as easily played Fiora. He could have played. There's so many counters to like Mundo or so many champions or like even tanks in general. If Smoothie really wanted to play if you wanted to play a tank.
We're gonna call out all the team plans, Fluffy. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I see you, Fluffy. I see your game plan. You guys got the draft that you wanted to get. I'll give it to you. You guys got pretty much every pick you wanted.
Shout out to Smoothie for playing DD's favorite top lane champion in the Mundo.
Yep,
And
Mundo hype. Mundo hype. We always like Mundo hype.
Smoothie did a very good job playing the Avius. Definitely just one where you're going to have a lot of pressure on you, but mitigated a lot of that and played very well against Avius in that top lane. But let's jump into the game 2 draft.
Yeah, Blitz, you were too new. They kind of just pulled you in off the street. You weren't really informed of the plan. They kind of just told you to play support.
The real plan was give Blitz Maokai and then go ham.
Yep.
For game 2, Big Wheel was on a blue side. They once again grabbed the Zeri for Fluffy. And then they got the Zac, who is always a jungler you gotta watch out for. Is super tanky and has super long range engage. And Brand once again for Hardway in the mid lane. Close him out has grabbed the Moo once again. Grab that Swain and Jinx for the ADC. And then Blitzkrieg pulling out the new champion, the Milio in the bot lane, and they picked up a Sante for the top lane. West Meadows rounded it out with an Annie for that mid lane and a Set for that top lane. I will jump to the score screen and talk about this game. So this one was a much closer game, very back and forth, but Big Wheel did pull out the victory, securing the 2-0 in the series. Well done to them, pulling out the victory against the last season championship team. We see Big Wheel Evbot once again popping up very hard on that Zac pick. 9, 3, and 12 was all over the map, ganking a ton. Fluffy once again playing very well on that Zeri, and Blitz supporting him, enabling him to deal out that damage. Smoothie once again played very well in this top lane. Was getting Cassante ulted where he was looking for the ult into the kill, but would throw out the haymaker and get the trade kill back on him. It was very fun to watch. Taco got a lot more involved this game, got a lot of good ganks and good kills. And Snarbopsy going a ranged mid definitely helped him out to be a bigger factor in this game too. And then Jinx and Swain had a lot more pressure early this game, so they were able to assert themselves some more. But basically, it came down to late game team fights, and Big Wheel was just able to close them out a little cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be cool because these two teams will play each other again. So, I mean, on the day, it seemed like Big Wheel just kind of outclassed them. Uh, there wasn't really much like. I mean, there was a little bit of back and forth. Obviously, there was like Smoothie was showing his talent. He was showing us what he could do against Avius, and there were Sir Bops, he had good plays, and I think all of them did like fairly decent. But I think overall they were just outclassed on the day. It's gonna be fun to see like what their strategy for Los Nemadas would be against Big Wheel next time they play against each other.
Yeah, I think those games will be very exciting. I think it's easily could have gone to 3 games and could have gone either way, but definitely a fun series to watch if you get a chance to if you haven't seen it. And keep in mind, Big Wheel Evbot is the only player currently with a double-digit KDA, so definitely keep an eye out for him on the Rift when you're playing against him, and try to bring that down for us. Go take him
Yeah,
out.
dude's crazy.
Yeah, that we'll jump into the next game, which was God Kings versus Source Star. This is Deity's team and Beards against High Lady and High Lord's team. But we'll jump into the drafts.
So actually, for that game, High Lord was the top laner in this one, not Omega. But they've been, I believe, they might be doing some swapping after this series. Little spoiler alert.
Evbot was the steal of the draft, Fluffy, right? I'm gonna let you go through these drafts, Duty, since you were there. You can give me a little more insight of what was happening.
So yeah, we basically banned because High Lord was top lane, so we banned two of High Lord's split pushing champions. We banned the Syndra because we know Junie's I think two most played champions are like Jin and Syndra. So we figured that we would ban the Syndra, we would take the Jin at first pick. They decided to ban Silas. Not I don't know if that was towards me or towards Beard because Beard plays at support. They banned the Belveth for me, and then they banned the Seraphine from Beard. Um, so we picked Jin. They picked Ari Kaisa, which we figured that's High Lady's comfort was Ari, so we figured that she would be taking the Ari. We picked up Tarek just because uh, Beard likes Tarek. I don't really know. It's not like a super like amazing pairing with Jin. It's just he likes Tarek, so we picked Tarek.
Sometimes you
And
just
then
want to be invulnerable.
Malzahar for hot. I can't even speak to them. I'm so
Make
drained.
butter,
For Mick,
no muffin.
yeah, Mick Butter. I can't even. I'm sorry, James, that I called you hot guy. It's fine.
Don't
He's
even know
hot.
you
So
to me.
He's still new to the team. It's okay.
yeah. And then so we picked the Malzahar due to Ari and Kaisa being high mobility champions, wanted something to help block them down. They responded with Thresh. Then we banned Mordekaiser Camille. Again, two more split push champions that we know High Lord likes to play. And then they banned Viego and Diana. They didn't actually. They forgot. I guess High Lord thought that they were blue side for a second, so they forgot they were banning. But they banned Diana and Viego away from me. Don't know why they banned Diana when we had. I guess I could have went AP, but I don't know. Anyway, they banned Diana and Viego. They picked Ivern, which so they were going for a lot of shields on Kaisa. Looked like Threshlander and Ivern. They were trying to protect AD carry. We picked Malphite and Kane just to further solidify our like engage potential with like Jin follow up and Tarek and everything. And then they followed up with Shen, so they were kind of playing to protect the Kaisa comp, and that's as far as the draft really goes.
Alright.
What are your thoughts on the draft, Hailstrom?
I like your draft a lot. Like you say, it has a lot of go buttons. And as you have that go button, it works out that you have the Tarek. You can ult as you engage and have a really one-sided team fight. For Source Star, I agree. It's more of a protect the ADC comp. If High Lord was able to get ahead, it could have been a spot where he was both split pushing and being part of the protect the Kaisa comp with that ultimate. But looking at it, looks like Mr. Neat played it pretty well in that top lane. Did a good job going even in the Malphite into Shen, which is a perfectly fine matchup. Like two tanks, pretty
It's funny.
standard.
It's funny because High Lord actually did get ahead. He was like, I think he was like 3-0 at one point on Shen, just because
Oh, yeah.
there were some early game skirmishes that didn't go super well for us. So he did end up getting ahead. Like two of my deaths were like very early on in the game. So it was yeah, it was actually High Lord was actually ahead. The problem was is that he literally just couldn't really do anything because he's a Shen. He's not really an. The thing is with Shen is like Shen is nice, but if Shen has kills, and he's against a tank, like a full like go in team comp, there's not really a lot he can do
Yeah,
because it's not
you
like
have
a
to
lot
go
of our
back and
champions auto attack or anything. Like our champions are a lot of like ability focus damage. So like his W really doesn't help. He can only really CC like one person unless we're all just lined up. And I don't know, 4 times.
unfortunately.
That's funny. I mean, you weren't autoing a lot. You were just pressing W on Malphite ults and then ulting.
It's
That
all
was pretty
Havoc and
much.
Count 2 is for. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is also nice, even on that Malphite, if you get behind a little bit early, which sounds like happened. With the Malphite, you're always going to be useful because you have that go button. So if you're with your team and like your carries can do damage, or you just find a nice pick, it's a very nice champion to put a lower salary player on, where your shot caller can say, "All right, let's fight," and they just press R.
Yeah, that's. I mean, realistically, that's what happened. I mean, uh, it's just like at the end of the day, their comp. I mean, I just the reason I picked the Kane at the end of the draft is because they had a lot of shields that were showing. They had the Ivern and the Thresh and the Kai'Sa ult, so I picked Kane because we wanted a champion that could build Serpent's Fang. And then
Yeah,
they picked another shield champion in Shen, so it was kind of just like I would run at the Kai'Sa, hit her, and then any shields that were cast on her thereafter did not really do much. So yeah, it was kind of just. I mean, once we got to, I mean, the game ended in 25 minutes. Once we got to like the third Drake, it was pretty easy just to like ruffle stomp them with our go buttons, and then they couldn't really do anything. Also, McButter got super ahead on Malzahar over High Lady, so High Lady wasn't really a damage factor for them. So it was literally all on Junie to like do anything
right.
with the Kai'Sa, but even she didn't like she was only at 2 items when the game ended, so it wasn't a lot she could do either.
Yeah, McButter very comfortable on that Malzahar. I'd say one of the like 4 or 5 main champs he likes to go. And then you had the dynamic duo of King Beardcleaves and Hungry Hobbit in the bot lane. People who are from Press R and remember when they played together know they're very comfortable together. So
Oh
definitely
yeah, they are.
putting on a good show down there, and very well drafted from your side, and a good job closing that game out neatly. But let's jump into draft number 2. Can take it over again.
All right, so we kind of just did the same bands as last game because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we banned the same champs. They switched their bans a little bit. They replaced Silas with Malzahar. They did not like James Malzahar. They still were set on not giving me Belveth and not giving Beard Seraphine. We did the same thing. We just install Jin. They take Ari and they go for Malphite instead, which is kind of interesting. So they really wanted to take it away from Neat, but it was also kind of interesting because it like usually when you blind pick top, I know on Listen to Modest they did that a few times where they would blind pick top because they didn't think they could play anything into it. Like they would blind pick like a Shen or a Mordekaiser because they didn't think the enemy could play anything into it. But I
Mhm.
guess they kind of just didn't want us to have the Malphite because Neat got a lot of good Malphite ults in those fights, and that it was obviously it's hard to play against that stuff sometimes. We
Right.
responded back with Tarek. We saw that he picked Malphite, so we just decided to answer our top laner so they wouldn't ban out our top laner. So we just we responded with Cho'Gath, which is pretty decent into Malphite. Uh, like in a vacuum, like Malphite really can't do anything against Cho'Gath. And then Kai'Sa they followed up with, so sticking with the Ari Kai'Sa, which again is good with Malphite, just to follow up on his engage. They banned Silas again, which is good because they picked Malphite. So I was considering it, but again, I didn't really want to pick Silas here because I know James wanted to pick a mage, so we would have been a lot of AP. So I didn't really want to do that, but they banned Diana and Silas anyway. So I
Right.
didn't really have to think about it. And then we banned Shaco because I know Omega. I know at least like we didn't really know who else to ban. We did want to get rid of the Thresh, but we knew we were going to ban the Thresh anyway because the Thresh actually saved the Kai'Sa a few games. Like Live Light was actually playing pretty good on Thresh in the first
Mhm.
game, even though they lost. But so we just wanted to take that away from him, and then we banned Shaco because we were like Omega. I know Omega plays Shaco. I know like when he subbed for our team or my team last year, he played Shaco and he popped off on it. So I didn't really know what else would be a great ban. So I was just like, just might as well take the Shaco off. It's an annoying kind of Shaco kind of like confuses or makes the early games a lot more hectic. So we just thought we'd take that away.
Sure.
They picked Leona, which we expected them to pick Leona, because Live Light's 2 champions are like Thresh Leona, and Leona, I mean, Tarek's really solid into Leona. And then we picked Vagar just for some extra lockdown and CC. They have a lot of champs that want to dash around, so we wanted to have Vigar kind of like the Malzahar help lock some of them up, and then we just kept with the Kane because it's it worked for us the first game, so might as well pick it again. They responded with Rek'Sai, so they went kind of the opposite of their last comp. Instead of going for a protect the ADC comp, they went for a hard dive comp.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like having a more fighter jungler for Omega. Omega definitely likes to fight early.
Yup.
I do agree getting that Cho'Gath into the Malphite. It's a matchup I like as well, so definitely nice for Mr. Neat there. And the Vigar for McButter is probably the #1 champ I would keep him off of if we were playing against him. If he's very comfortable just playing safe early on that Vigar and scaling into that ridiculous late game.
Oh yeah, he was hitting them.
But yeah, let's jump into the score screen. And let's see. Deity once again popping off on that Kane. Watch out for this man in the jungle. He thought he was the top main, and now he turned into a jungle main.
I mean, yeah, I mean jungle's a lot easier than top, so it's it's
True.
chill.
You just
Don't
have to
really have
gank
to look.
people. You have to deal with ganks.
Yeah, I could just skip the laning phase, which is like the hardest part of top lane, and then just get to go on to team fighting.
Yep.
Uh, but
And
yeah,
looking
I
like
mean, basically, they actually had like a decently strong early game. Like this game went on 10 minutes longer than than the last one, so they definitely played better as this comp than they did the first comp. But kind of the same thing happened as like the first game. They did gank bot a lot this game, and then High Lord I think was doing pretty good into Mr. Neat early on, but again, it's a tank v tank matchup. So if he gets any sort of leads early, it doesn't really convert to that much. Mr. Neat was, Cho'Gath, so we had pretty good objective control towards the mid game. Um, High Lady never really took off. She didn't really get, you know, like to finish her death cap spike or like get super ahead. I mean, James McButter played really good on Vagar. Like once again, he was just neutralizing the Ari. There were some early skirmishes that went bad. Omega actually got pretty fed early on, but I think a lot of the later game came to like Omega and Live like got caught out quite a few times, and it just we were able to like get objectives off of it and just kind of like claw back into the game. We were only down by like I think we were down by like 3k gold around 20 minutes, so we were never down like too far, but we would just get picks with our comp, and then I mean with like Kane being able to go in walls, hit W's, set up for Hobbits W's, and then put a cage around the person. It's pretty hard to like escape that kind of CC.
yeah, for sure. A lot of CC on both sides for this game. But the Vigar cage just is so impactful in team fights because it takes up so much of the fight area.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it looks like well played on both sides. Looks like it was a good scrappy game. But you guys pulled it out with a little bit better scaling. So well played to you guys, and I will be interested to see for Star if they continue. They done a kind of late game swap between High Lord and Omega. High Lord going in the top lane and Omega going to the jungle. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep that swap or if they swap back to High Lord jungling and see how that changes the team dynamic.
I
But
saw
yeah,
after our games they were playing normals the other way. I saw Omega playing top and High Lord playing jungle again. So yeah, it's possible that they decide to swap back. I don't know if they were trying to do this specifically just for like our matchup, if they thought that they wanted to put High Lord in. I mean, High Lord's a bit higher salary. Maybe they wanted to put him in like a stronger matchup versus Neat, who's a lower salary top laner. I'm not exactly sure what their thought process was between that, or if they've been planning that for a while, but and they wanted to try it in the first game. But yeah, I'm curious to see as well.
for sure. But now the next game we'll jump into is Ultra Lords versus the Rolling Stoners. For this game,
You have the best
uh,
icons.
yeah, very good icons on these
It's a
teams.
battle. It's a battle of of the meme teams.
Ultra Lords were missing Kuro Kishi from this game, so they had to do a little bit of swapping around. They picked up Mami Senpai, I believe, who ended up supporting. And
Mami
Tim,
Senpai was ADC, and then Zelmorn was top.
yes, Mami Senpai ADC is a little more in top. Rolling Stoners had their full draft, but this one, if you saw in the Discord, after the other games on Sunday had ended, we jumped in and streamed Game 3 just to general chat. So some people might have caught that game with us, but we'll jump
I
into Game 1
definitely caught
draft.
that game.
Here we see Rolling Stoners took away Milio, Cassio, definitely the biggest threat you assume from Katsuto in the mid lane, and J4, very strong jungler. Ultra Lords took out Ramus and Zac, two junglers Clodan is very well known for, and the Jin. And then they picked up for the Rolling Stoners Zyrakan, the Lovers bot lane, and the Mumu for the jungle. Ultra Lords grabbed Kaisa, Nautilus, and Maokai, so late game hyper carry ADC and two big old tanks for CC. Then Stoners took out who's that? Lilia? No,
Talia
I'm
and
brain
Nico.
farting. Nico. Talia and Nico. Ultra Lords took out Sion and Yone, and then Lux and Jax picked up for the Stoners. Ari and Poppy picked up for Ultra Lords. So how are you feeling about these team comp?
I mean, I think Ultra Lords kind of went for they kind of went for a different version of the comp Sorcerer played against us. They went for like the Ari Kaisa, like as very mobile carries, and then three like tanks slash bruisers to like. I mean, Poppy's kind of a tank bruiser, I guess, but
Yeah.
three tanks, I guess, to kind of like heavy dive them. That seems like that was the play from them. Stunners have more of a peel back comp, I would say, like with the Lux and the Zaya. But then they do have some go buttons with Rakan and Mumu, and then Jax is a good like side lane threat that they would have to send like the Poppy to deal with, or I think the Poppy's top lane. Yeah, yeah. Wait, is Poppy top lane or is Poppy jungle?
It was either I forget if it was Mayo top or Poppy top. I didn't see this one, but we can jump into the score screen and figure it out.
That'll shine some light on it.
They had the Poppy top and the
Yeah,
Mayo
yeah.
jungle. A first strike Mayo jungle by Zabel.
I think if you're going first strike Maokai, you want to go AP. I think there was a misread of the U.GG page for Zabel. Yeah, usually with that you want to go like aftershock or phase rush with the tank variant, but yeah.
Sometimes you just want a little bit of extra gold.
Yeah.
But
Tanks need the extra gold.
looks like game one went the way of the Rolling Stoners. Boosted, doing pretty well on that Lux in the mid lane against Kazuto. Went 3-1-17, so went
Yeah,
pretty even and did a good job just going even into a much higher salary player. So well played there. Bonkers
looks
popping off a
pretty.
little bit on that Jax pick, along with Rise of Dusk on that Zaya. And
Yeah, I mean, it looks like every lane, yeah, except for mid lane. I think Kazuto looks like he. I mean, not like boosted died at all, but probably maybe had some roams on Kazuto. I didn't see the game myself, but it looks like he did pretty good in terms of getting some kills, getting gold. It's just tough for this team because I mean Kuro is one of their higher salary players, so definitely losing out on Kuro's carry potential is difficult. Even though I don't think Mommy Senpai particularly played that bad, just by
right.
looking at the stats, it might just be Rise of Dust just really popped off. But yeah, it is definitely hard when you're missing, one of your star players for sure. I think like Kazuto and Kuro are both like the definitely the higher salaries on that team. So it is rough when that happens. But yeah, I mean they took it to game 3, so obviously they did something right.
For sure. Yeah, and that will happen sometimes, unfortunately, when it does. But people on the sub list, always be on the lookout for when teams need you. If you want to get into any of the actual games, it will happen every week, most likely. So just keep an eye out. But we'll jump into the game 2 draft. TJ saying he missed his chance. You gotta keep an eye out when people need you, TJ. Come on now. This game, Ultra Lords grabbed the Zac for the jungle. Still a very strong pick, in my opinion. Grab that Jinx and Yumi, so a nice hyper carry with Lulu. Oh yeah, Lulu. Sorry, not Yumi.
Yeah. Same thing. Both
yeah,
annoying.
shields, healing, whatever, you know.
All enchanters are the same.
Rolling Stoners once again grabbed the Lovers duo for the bot and picked up the Fiddlesticks for the jungle, looking for those big teamfight ultimates. For the bans, Ultralords still wanted to take away Cladan's signature Rammus. They took out the Amumu and the Jax from game 1. Stoners took out the Cassia once again, the J4 once again, and Milio this time. And then rounded out with a Fiora and Camille ban, and the same last two bans from last game for the Stoners. Picking up Gragas and Syndra for the top and mid lane for Ultralords, and then a Malzahar and Aurelia. So kind of a control mage mid matchup and two kind of late game hyper carries in the top lane. But let's roll on into the score screen. And this one, as we said, it goes into game 3, so it was picked up by the Ultralords. Very well done by them with a gap in their salary, but picking up the win even through those odds. Looks like all the lanes basically got 6 kills in the carries. Zabel grabbing 5 kills himself, looking like he had a bunch of assists, so definitely did a good job ganking this game. And Lulu picking up 1 kill, so it wasn't the perfect support score, but looking like she was enabling her team. Boosted. Looks like he did pretty well, died a little bit more this game, but that's kind of expected when you lose. Looks like Zolmorn and Bonkers were pretty even top, but Zolmorn just kind of got a little farther ahead. Definitely be interested to see how this one went, if it came down to any of the lanes coming ahead, or if the junglers just impacted it. Zabel just had more pressure. Would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it looks definitely like a scrap. There's, kills were pretty even. Game went to 35 minutes. There was, a lot of, 3 dragons on one team, 2 dragons on another. There was, yeah. It looks like there was a lot of scrapping. I think overall, I'm. It's good to see that they didn't over freak out about like Rise of Dust popping off on Zaya enough to ban it.
Right.
Because obviously, like showing that, sometimes like you face a champion and they just pop off and you're just like, well, I can't do anything. But it's like if you play the lane a bit differently and you don't get as far ahead, then they're not nearly as like invincible. Even though it can be really easy to see like, oh, this champ's broken, or oh, this champ, like I can't kill him because X, Y, or Z. But I think it was a good draft adaptation. I think they picked a lot more of a standard team comp with like a hyper carry bot lane, a strong mid lane, oppressive mid lane mage, and then kind of more of a scaling top laner. Yeah, I think they played well.
Yeah, for sure. But now we will jump into game number 3 draft. This is the one, if you were around in the general chat, we got to see as a group. Looks like this game, 3 jungle bans from the Ultra Lords, taking out the Amumu, Zac, and the Rammus. The Rolling Stoners didn't like that Lulu, took out the Lulu and kept the Milio and Cassiopeia bans. Still, we're prioritizing that Zaya. So picture up first. Ultra Lords decided to go with the Jinx Nami duo lane. Similar to the Lulu pick, since it was banned away. Just like a little bit less protection, but a little more setup for fights, I would say.
Mm.
They grabbed the Blitzcrank and the Wukong, so a nice pick-off champ for that bot lane if they can catch him with a hook and try and get a quick kill and a good team fight jungler. And Jax for that top lane going for another scaling top. Actually, I think the Wukong ended up top this game, so it was
Yeah,
Wukong
Wukong
into
top.
Jax.
Yeah, they picked a Wukong, but I mean, the time they picked it definitely was a flex pick. They could have sent it jungle at that
yeah,
angle, so they might have just picked the Jax so that they wouldn't have Bonkers play Jax again.
right. And then the Talia and Cinder bands from the Stoners, the Fiora Malphite bands from Ultralords. Didn't want that Malphite into the Jax. Then Stoners grabbed Lux and Skarner, so you end up being the jungler. Glydan willing to pick out these pick off champs who are the big tanks run in, grab you and pull you back into your team. Zabel picked up his Gragas, who he liked a lot last season, and Kazuto on the Vigar. So for game three, how are you feeling about these drafts?
I mean, I think the Blitzcrank was a nice adaptation instead of just defaulting to Rakan. Definitely good. I don't love the Nami with Jinx. I would have rather seen like I either maybe a Janna or um a Yumi possibly. I just think Nami. I mean, Nami isn't terrible with Jinx. I just think it's kind of like I think there are better enchanters if you want to go with like kind of a protect the Jinx kind of thing. There are
Yeah,
better
for sure.
options, but other than that, I think both teams have like perfectly suitable drafts. I think everything looks fine. I think that a lot of it. I mean, we can get into like the game because
Yeah.
that's where this conversation's gonna lead to anyway.
Jump into the post game. Game three ended up being taken by the Rolling Stoners, though it was a very back and forth game. Could have gone either way. But yeah, you can continue with your thoughts.
Yeah, I think most of it came down to I think both. I mean, obviously Bonkers played really good top lane against Zolmorn, but I think a lot of it was. I mean, Rise of Dusk and Worthy Dusk were just running the bot lane that game. They just, I mean, it looked like Worthy Dusk couldn't miss a hook. It was really insane to watch. Just uh, how much they were dominating that lane. I mean, like Cladan, even though like Cladan has plenty of assists and everything, it's like it didn't feel like he was even needed too much because it just felt like like their bot lane was just 2v2 destroying them. It was crazy.
Yeah, definitely a very strong adaptation there from their bot lane, landing a lot of the hooks, as you said. They did have to have the sub down there since they moved their ADC to top lane, so that might have thrown off the synergy a little bit for them. But definitely well played to Worthy Dust and Rising Dusk. And yeah,
No,
just
yeah,
with that big lead, able to eventually snowball into the victory and kept down the scaling threat from the Jackson, the Vigar on the side of Ultra Lords.
yeah. I mean, I'm I'm surprised personally that Ultra Lords did win that second game, like, and it looked like pretty convincingly. They won pretty. It was a pretty like high kill game for them, and they had a lot of objectives and everything without Kuro. It is very hard to play with the sub, like last minute, just because you can't exactly like you've been practicing. Maybe teams that don't practice as much, it's not as big of an issue, but teams that practice or built up synergy over the off season and everything, it's hard, especially with a bot laner, because I mean your AD and support are typically much more synergized than everyone else on your team.
Right.
So, having a different ADC and support can be very hard to acclimate to, like a last minute change on how they want to play the game. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good sign that they did take one game off of them just to show that, like, hey, if we had our ADC, it could have went a lot differently. Again, not no slight to Mami Senpai. He played well with what he was given. It's just hard to adapt to the last minute change like that.
Agreed. And yeah, definitely keep an eye out for both these teams. Don't count Ultra Lords out just because they lost week 1 when they had to do that last minute sub. But we will jump into the next game, which was H2O versus Battle of the Bulg. This one, they had to find a sub for Water, so they had a little bit of rearrangings for the actual game. Unfortunately, I think Water ended up having to work, and it was very last minute when Akali found out. So, due to the last minute scrambling, they ended up only being one game for the series, because there was a forfeit from the time in the rules, based on when the sub was finally found. But we can jump
Yeah,
into
I
that
heard
game
it was a
draft.
bit. Heard it was a bit hectic because we were starting our first game when that was going on, or about to start our first game when that was going on. So yeah, I'll
Yeah,
let you give us the behind the scenes on this one.
I will. All right, so they picked up KB Jelly, who ended up jungling for them. So as soon as we heard that, we banned away the Poppy, not giving that man his Poppy signature champion. Man's ridiculous on it. We took out the Jax. Perfy very much likes Jax in the top lane, and then Akali, because H2O Akali, it's thematic.
True, true.
They banned away the Asol from Bulgaria, the Elise from Kianu, and banned away my Maokai. And then
Tragic.
we grabbed the Senna. We were thinking about the Senna before all the trades anyway, and it kind of confirmed it was what we wanted. We knew either Janao or Tactic could use it, so that was why we liked it as the first pick. They grabbed a Nautilus and the Sejuani, so they had a lot of very good engaged champs. So we answered with the Jarvan and the Galio, and then Lethal picked up the Sandra for himself.
Did you guys consider that Nautilus could be top lane? Did you guys think about that?
It was a possibility, but Perfy doesn't normally play a lot of tanks in the top lane. So we didn't really think it would end up top, but it could have.
I know in in-houses, that's the one tank you would play consistently is like Nautilus. If he was playing a tank, you would play Nautilus top. I saw him like 3 in-houses playing it, like
Right,
3 different ones playing it. So I was just like, "Ooh, it could be could be the pocket pick,
right.
Nautilus
Yeah,
top lane from Perfy."
it was a possibility, but we were guessing it was bottom for our
Okay,
draft. And then they banned away Misfortune and Twitch. Misfortune is one Tactic's been liking, and I think Janao in his constant grinding and ranked at some point played Twitch, so maybe they saw that and didn't want to deal with it.
I thought Tactic was the Jinx guy.
Tactic also plays Twitch, so maybe they saw it on both of them and said, "Yeah, let's just not deal with this
Yeah,
stealth."
yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I
And
see
then
that.
we banned away the Samira. Just didn't want to have that big engage from Nautilus with the super follow up from Samira. And the Rengar, that's another pick. Perfy likes in the top lane, and I was already saying I would play Ornn, and Rengar does pretty well into Ornn, so I said, let's just get rid of it.
I feel like Jinx is like always like I don't know. I feel like I like Jinx. They'll not make any changes to Jinx, and then people will just like start playing Jinx like religiously, and they're like, oh, she's so good, and then like randomly they'll just be like, oh, Jinx sucks, and then she just comes back in the meta. I know they nerfed her. I know they like nerfed her by like 2 AD or like point something AD scaling or whatever, but yeah. S tier to C tier. I feel like she flips like that every patch. I feel like the next time I'll look at a bot lane tier list, they'll be like, "Oh, Jinx is unplayable," and then, "Oh, she's Z tier. She's so good." All right.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
But then they grabbed the Zeri. I think that's what we were kind of expecting them to grab. So
It's very scary.
I grabbed the Ornn because I was like, hey, I have a big team fight ult. I can upgrade my team no matter what happens. So I'll grab that man's, and we grabbed the Seraphine to round out our bot lane. And then Perfy got to grab that Ilaoi. Kind of annoying pick when you're playing the Ornn. You're so fat.
Yeah.
E's are pretty easy to hit, and anytime a tentacle hits you, the Ilaoi's healing. But
Alawi is a good champion right now. I think Alawi's like very very strong if she can get ahead. If you're
yeah,
piloting her well.
that was definitely like the epitome of I'm gonna bully people in lane.
Yeah, true. She's kind of like a Mordekaiser where she just like beats up tanks in lane and then you can't really gank her because then she can just turn it with her ults. So it's just like kind of
Well,
an awkward champion.
speaking of not ganking Alawi, if you're against the tank,
Oh
let's go to the
yeah,
score
yeah,
screen.
yeah. You told me a lot about that. Dang junglers
Right.
feeding top lane.
Keanu calling himself out in the chat saying crappy jungler fed Alawi early. You want to jump to the next screen, Beard? Here we go. I had my perfect 07 and 12 game. You know, everything went as planned. I think it was a level 3 or 4 fight. Steel came up and looked for a gank on Perfy. It was pretty close, but Perfy ended up getting a double kill and double buffs. So basically, for the rest of this game, I was sitting there going, "All right, I can't lane, but I'm just gonna farm, and there's team fights later."
I will say the picture, just the screenshot, makes me feel like I need to put on my glasses. But anyway, no, it's just when I look at the icons of the champions, I'm just like, dude. At first, I actually thought I had to put on my glasses. I was like, is my vision that bad?
blame Bulgaria. He's the one who took him. But
Anyway, go ahead.
luckily, on the bot side of the map, Tactic and Janelle had a pop-off game. We put Janelle on the Fasting Senna. Tactic just dealing out that poke damage and healing with the Seraphine, and then Bulgaria, Keanu, and myself were just the big meatballs for team fights in the front line. And despite Perfy being very far ahead of me for the lane, once we got to team fighting, we had enough peel for Tactic and Janelle, where team fights really pulled our team together, and we were able to get a lead and pull it out from there.
I will say I like Janelle's itemization against this team because he is really the only like AD consistent damage source for their team of tanky champions. So I do think I think there's a lot of people that would have played this and just went the typical like Eclipse or like Ghost Blade kind of set of build just because that's what they see on u.gg and they're like, yeah, that's the build.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
I think it was around 20 minutes. I was just saying every minute to Janelle, I'm like, so we're gonna need an LDR. They're very tanky.
yeah, that's the secret is you just have to have a top laner that knows how to build, and then he just tells everyone in game that's us top laner as well. Some of
The only
us.
thing I know is I'm just like, oh, if I'm a really fed tank and then I fight someone who randomly has an LDR, it feels bad.
Yeah, that's true. LDR is pretty shit. I
Yeah,
didn't say you didn't know how
Tactic
to
knows
build
how to build too.
tactic.
And now you're flaming my team, making them all sad. I didn't say it, you
Oh,
did.
tragic. Yeah. No, I said he built well. What? All right, we're just turning it on.
But
We're
we
just
did
making
we did it.
DD the bad guy. It's fine.
We did have the Demoglia from Steel, so that definitely helped us out.
Demoglia. We love
But
Demoglia.
as I said, we won this one, so it ended up being a one-game series. Unfortunate with having to find a sub at the end, but that will happen sometimes. And now we'll jump
Yeah.
into the last matchup of week one, which was Velocity Gaming versus Titan Gaming Mox. We'll jump
The
into
second Titan Gaming.
the second Titan Gaming. This one, I guess, Vixper is an org that's also named Titan Gaming Mox, so that's why we have two Titans. But definitely will be a fun week when it's Titan versus Titan.
Oh yeah, the clash of the Titans, if you will.
But for this one, we don't have the draft screens.
All right, just leave
But
me hanging like that. It's fine.
Aha. We don't have the draft screen, so we'll just jump into the score screens, but we can kind of look at how the teams lined up. And Vixper doing a fantastic job
But we love that. We
taking a
love the cry of the
screenshot
Shrieking City.
where we can't see anything at all, but we do know what Cry of the Shrieking City does, so at least we have that. But
Yeah, it's got 225% base mana regen. That's crazy.
shit's
That's
bust.
crazy. That shit's busted. Get an Orin on your team supports.
Right. But it looks like the Velocity Gaming got. Oh wait. Yeah, that's who they are. Cool. Got the Ornn in the
I
top
don't know.
lane.
Can't see any of the names.
Trundle,
That's hard.
Jungle, Flimsy's one of his very well-known champion in the Azir mid, and then the Aphelios and Janna bot lane. Looking like Vixper popped off really hard on that Trundle in the jungle. Flimsy popped off pretty well, and Arma doing a good job on that Aphelios as well. On the side of Titan. Oh no, that was Titan Gaming's lineup. All right, Velocity had the Fiora, the Zac,
Yes.
the Victor, and the MF Leona bot lane. I do like that team comp from them. It's a pretty good team fighting team comp. They've got engage from Zac and Leona, and then kind of Fiora to split. But looks like the Trundle was just able to provide a lot of pressure across the map this game.
I mean, I always like Trundle into Zac because you can just like stop his E with your pillar, and then you can also just ult him when he because when Zac jumps in on someone, all you need to do is Trundle is walk into the E and then ult him as soon as his aftershock goes off, and you're just unkillable forever. So
True.
it's pretty unavoidable for the Zac to like not just CC him and go aftershock. If I was playing Zac, I would have definitely ran Conqueror this game because yeah, aftershock versus Trundle is not great. You just make him unkillable, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it just looks like Flimsy and Vixper kind of just ran them over. Fiora looks like she did pretty well, but there wasn't really. It's kind of hard to solo win the game by split pushing unless you're just light years ahead. Then looks like Yalinger did pretty good at keeping up. I mean, he did have more gold by the end of it than Arma, so it's like he was fairly strong the whole game too. Went 37 minutes, so it was a long one. There was a lot of looks like a lot of scrapping. There was one Baron for each team. 2 to 3 dragons, five 9 turrets. I mean, looks like it was a pretty hard. It doesn't look like the scoreboard kind of makes it look like it's a stomp, but probably it doesn't seem like it from the other stats.
Yeah, and so it was almost a 40-minute game, so they did drag it out. Didn't lay down and die, but game 1 going to Titan Gaming Max, and now we'll jump into game 2.
What Ornn item will we see next
this time we can see all the people.
Ooh.
Thank you, Vixper.
Yeah,
try and do screenshots like this from now on. This time Vixper had the Zac. Hayden on the Alawi, another Alawi game. There you go. Flimsy taking that Asol. And then Arma once again on the Aphelios with the support Trinity on Janna.
Looks like they banned the Azir. Really didn't like the Azir from the first game, so get away with that.
Definitely one Flimsy's comfortable on, but took another hyperscaler in the Asol. Now has his own stacking mechanics after the rework.
I mean, I think it's just so hard to ban out Flimsy, man. Like the guy can play pretty much any mage, he can also play like Irelia and other hyper carry stuff. But I think it's rough trying to ban that guy out.
Yeah, for sure. But another game where looking like Vixper popped off really hard. Flimsy had a very good game. So again, watch out for Vixer and Flimsy when you're playing against these guys.
Strong jungle mid. They are running over games. This one looks a lot more decisive. Even though I do see that they did pick up a Baron on the side of Velocity. So I wonder if that was a steal or if that was they just maybe snuck the Baron. I'm curious because it looks like it was a pretty big stomp. So I'm curious to know like how they got that Baron. What's the inside scoop on that?
Yeah, I would guess a steal. I think in game 1, if you look at the in-house highlights, Casual Plebs had posted a highlight of him doing the drive-by Zac smite steal on a dragon. Yeah. So you can check that out from this
another Rageblade Velveth. We we advocate against those, but I mean,
sometimes you just got to. But Velocity had Too Good for Lima on the Scion, casual grabbing that Belveth. Sim Jim on the Cho'Gath, so two tanky boys for the solo lanes, and then the Jin and Annie for the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty. It looks fine for both teams. I think I lean more towards Titan Gaming's draft just because I think their champions are just stronger. I think like Aphelios Janna is like pretty OP. I think Aurelion Soul. I mean, Cho'Gath is a good counter into Aurelion Soul. To be fair, I think it's a good. I think Cho'Gath has a lot of ways of like disrupting Aurelion Soul's Qs with his silence and his Q. It's
Right.
really pretty good. I don't know why he went Grasp into the Soul, but I think other than that, I think the idea was there that like it's a decent counter pick.
Right.
But yeah, I
But
think
with going the AP build, this could have been one where you go the what is it? Hail of Blades,
yeah,
Approach
Halo
Velocity,
Blades would have been good. I
Cho'Gath.
Comet would have been fine. There's a lot of options there. I think
Well,
everything else is pretty standard.
with the Hail of Blades approachful, actually, you basically fish for your Q. As soon as you hit it, you E triple
Sprint.
auto
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
ult. And
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of
no,
times
absolutely.
when you
It's
go in
good.
AP, you can just one shot people with that.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, good. Well played to Titan Gaming Max taking the series 2-0. And now we're gonna jump into the week 2 matchups. First up will be Titan Gaming Max, who we just saw, against Battle of the Bulg. That'll be my team.
Ooh,
Unfortunately,
spicy.
we will be down Bulgaria, our captain, for this week. He'll be on a work trip, so we're gonna be finding a sub for that game. And our goal is to avoid Flimsy getting too huge. Watch out for Vixper being
Bulgaria just
ridiculous in the
ran
jungle.
away from. He knew he was playing flimsy this
Yeah,
week, so he's like, "All right,
he
I gotta schedule a work trip."
he conveniently was away when he had to play Flimsy.
Conveniently.
Not saying anything. Yeah, we're hoping to avoid just Flimsy being huge and hoping we can win
And
in team
Vixper too,
fights
dude. Vixper is looking pretty huge this games too. You better be careful.
for sure. But looking for the team fight victories. Then we've got Titan's Wrath, the other Titan game, versus Velocity Gaming.
The redemption arc for both teams.
Yep, both teams looking for a win. I believe Titan's Wrath just had an update where they were dropping Hawkeye 4-pack and they had picked up, let me check,
Boomstick, I believe.
Yeah, they picked
Boomstick.
up
Yep.
Boomstick.
Picking up
Yeah.
Boomstick. We'll be interested to see if they shuffle around their roster once again. I would assume yes.
Yeah, I
And then
mean
Velocity Gaming, as far as I know, keeping everything the same, just seeing how they can draft it out and looking for that first W in the second series.
Yep.
Then Night Raid Owls against H2O. Hoping here for H2O they will have their full team there and get to play out their team strategy as per normal. And it will definitely should be a fun series, them against Night Raid Owls. I think it's a very good matchup if both teams are at full strength.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'll be fun to watch.
We got Rolling Stoners against Soarstar. Stoners trying to keep their victory, trying to start a victory streak, get a second one. Soarstar looking for that first victory. We'll be interested to see their top and jungle lineup for Soarstar. Big Wheel versus Ultra Lords. That one again should be a very fun matchup. Hoping Ultra Lords will have their full team roster there.
Yeah, full roster would be fun to watch that one as well. I think a lot of these matchups are spicy this week.
Yeah, for sure. And then Los Nomadas versus the God Kings. You guys going up against the season 1 champions. How you feeling?
I mean, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty confident. Watch some of their games. Went over some of their games earlier. Think we got a good shot. Think we're gonna I think my bot laner Hobbit is pretty excited for this matchup.
Oh yeah. Why is
Yep,
he so excited for it?
he's excited because technically Los Tomatas has the highest salary bot lane
Oh, I see. I see.
combined.
He's gonna
So
test himself.
he's excited. Beard's excited too.
That's good.
Everybody's excited. It's gonna be fun.
Going through the list, do you have any predictions for the week?
So it's hard to predict your game because we don't even know who your mid laner is.
You don't know.
Oh, you don't? Give us the inside scoop, dude. Who's the mid?
You'll see.
All right. Well, I can't really do much of that. Titan's Wrath versus Velocity. It's another strange one because Titan's Wrath is going to have a different lineup. So depending on what their lineup looks like, it's hard because you just a lot of these teams. It's like I have no idea because it's like you have a different mid laner this week. Titan's Wrath is going to have a different, completely different lineup. H2O, we don't know if Water's going to play. We don't know if Ultra Lord is going to have Kiro. Like it's so strange because we haven't seen any of these, or like we haven't seen like almost half the teams at their full, like actually roster. At least three of them. I think
You just gotta use your intuition and assume
intuition.
people
Okay,
will be
okay,
there.
all right. I think
I will tell you, for our games, our strategy doesn't really change at all with our sub.
I didn't think it would. I was just kidding. I just it's just hard. It's hard to know without seeing the full lineup on how, because like it could be a random. Anyway, I think I could see you guys winning. It depends on who the mid laner is. I would say I would probably root, or I would if I was a betting man with their new lineup. I would say maybe Titans Wrath take over Velocity, but that one might be like a 3-game series. That one might be pretty close. I would say if H2O has Water, I think it could be very H2O favored, or if they get like practice with their team. If not, I think Night Raid Owls could definitely win. I would say probably Rolling Stoners or Saurusar, but again, I don't know like what their jungle top situation's looking like. So maybe we just played the worst version of their team, where they maybe with Omega and High Lord swapped. It's actually a stronger version. Uh, I would say Big Wheel versus Ultra Lords. I'd probably say Big Wheel's probably gonna win. I think Big Wheel's looking pretty tough, pretty scary. Uh, Not too scary, but they're looking pretty good. Ultra Lords again, if they have Kuro, it's a different ball game, but we'll see. And I mean I gotta say we're gonna win, right? Like we're gonna take it home. We're gonna be either tied with Big Wheel at the top, or we're gonna be of our division, or we're going to be at the top of our division if Big Wheel lose to Ultra Lords. But I think we're gonna win.
There you go.
I'm gonna say 2-0 and 2-1 Hobbit to what for our game? Am I gonna say 2-0, 2-1 to our game, or which game? Yeah, our game.
Yeah.
2
I'll give it. I'll say 2-0. Yeah, I'll say 2-0. I'll say 2-0 for us. Yeah. Again, it's hard to vote on the other ones because it's like I don't know who's where, or who's going to be there or not. I mean, maybe if we get closer to game day and we did like a little like pre prediction on maybe on Saturday or something, I could refine my takes once I'm more informed on what's going on.
You can toss all your predictions into the predictions chat in the Discord. This is the only one you get to say on stream.
No, I know. I didn't think we were doing another stream. I just mean like I throw my predictions somewhere when I have more info, but
Is
a
Bentage
little in
around
the
in the
dark
chat?
now.
You out there, Bentage? You want to toss out your predictions for us? We're missing them this week.
Say, I already added him in the predictions chat.
We need our prophet to give us the answers for the second week. I guess I could go back and see how he did week 1.
I was just gonna say, did we go over his predictions for week 1?
Yeah. Let's see. All right, week 1, he said Velocity over Titan Mux. So that was wrong.
Nope.
He said H2 over Bulge.
Nope.
That was wrong. He did say
NRO was right. That was right.
over Titan's Wrath, and it was a 2-1.
2-1. That was correct.
He called out rolling over Ultra 2-1, also correct.
That's right. That's correct. Yep.
Said Gods over Sora, said 2-1, but it was a 2-0. Still got the winner right.
Yeah.
And then Los over Big Wheel, 2-1. Big Wheel took it 2-0.
Not even close.
So it looks like he's 3 right in week 1, so about 50-50. Not bad, not bad. It's like flipping a coin.
Eclipsing tides with the
Raiding with a party
raid.
of 9. Thank you for the raid. We appreciate it. We're just wrapping up, so if anyone has a prime, toss it our way. We'll love you forever. I'll do my predictions. I'll believe in our team, but I'll say a 2-1 to Battle of the Bulg. Hoping our sub, we're gonna get some practice in there the next couple days and be ready. For Titan's Wrath Velocity, it's another 2-1. It's really hard to say who I think will win.
Titans draft 2-1.
Yeah, I think I'll
That's
say
what I would
Titans
go.
Wrath. It'll depend on how that new lineup ends up. Night Raid H2O. I think it'll be another 2-1. I think I'll say H2O, and I'm assuming they'll have the full lineup. Rolling
Yeah,
Stoner
cool.
Sora Star. The Stoners looked really good. It will be interesting to see how the top and mid lines up for Sora Star, but also 2-0 Stoners. They just looked very strong week 1. But it did help that they were against a less salary team, so maybe that's skewing my prediction. And then Big Wheel Ultra Lords. Big Wheel looked really good, so I'll give it to them 2-1. Kuro might be the X factor there, though. Los Namada's God Kings. I'll give it to you guys 2-1. But it'll depend on how big brain Popsy can get on those drafts and how the team just begins to synergize as time goes on.
Yep, it'll be all on the bot lane. It'll be a battle of the bot lane.
It'll be an easy 0-2 just in the bot lane. Like, what are Beard and Hobbit gonna do? Come on now.
Yeah, I know. We'll definitely just give him Zaya for the ego battle.
It always is. The rest of the team will carry you though. All I can assume is that Beard ignores everything said in the team chat during games. That's what I got used to when we played together. So, yeah. But I think, yeah, there's a lot of very exciting games this week. Hopefully we'll get to cast at least one of them in a VOD, if not maybe a couple, if any of them end up switching days. But yeah, I think that covers everything we're doing in this podcast. Any other words you want to give Beard or Dude?
Yeah. Good luck, have fun, summoners.
Good luck, have fun. Toss out those Prime subs. We appreciate them all. They allow you to avoid the random ads as we do these. And keep an eye out for game streams this coming week. My goal, since Beard and I are both on teams, is to do at least a game a week and more if possible. So keep an eye out for that, and keep an eye out for the Seer next week for reviewing week 2 and looking over week 3 coming up.
Also, Deity's weekly tip: rush Bork on Belveth if you're playing Belveth. It's
There's
good,
your
I
tip.
promise.
All right, have a good one, everybody.
The sky grows dark, decay underneath. The ravens in the sky, and kings shall deceive.